Council meeting, Monday the 5th of December. Item 1 on the agenda is to receive apologies for absence. We have apologies from Councillor McCarthy. McCarthy. The next item is to receive Councillors' declarations regarding disclosable, pecuniary and other registrable interests, along with the nature of those interests in relation to any agenda item. Any declarations, Councillors?
Yes. Mount 210.
And then you've got that. And 189, which is to note any dispensation requests made to the clerk in accordance with disclosable pecuniary interest of dispensation procedure and declare the method of dispensations to be granted.
No, that's it.
So the next part of the agenda is we close the parish council meeting, we open the meeting to the floor for report and reports from our county and district councils. Both pleased to see both are here. Usual thing, items on the agenda. Anybody on the floor wish to raise anything that's on the agenda? Gareth.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I'll just talk, if we may, about number 202, the recent accident in Gravely Way, and decide upon any actions.
Oh yes.
Yes, I'm a frequent user of Gravely Way myself, and there are other people as well that obviously use it to go to the drift and the tide lane and coming back. The pathway is very, very narrow, as probably a lot of people here know, especially between Kidman's and the drift, and there's not a lot of kind of elbow room along that road when there's two vehicles adjacent to each other and you're walking along them. There's also the lack of pathway between the end of the going out towards Gravely and the drift, and also a lack of a pathway between the crossroads. There's a little bit of pathway, then you have to cross by where the pond starts, about a 50-yard gap there, which can be a little bit perilous as well, especially that one because it is on a bend. Now, this time of year in winter, when the sun is in the sky early morning for about 3 months, there's a blind spot going towards the crossroads just where there isn't a pathway across there. And it is a job to see in a vehicle going towards the crossroads. The sun just happens to hit right in the windscreen, and that's for about a 3-month period of winter. Now I notice in Oakington, going through there, they've got a speed cushions like we have in Gravely Way, also a chicane, and now they have a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit through the village. I didn't realise I went through a few weeks ago. So basically, going forward, I think certainly to make matters better, the road markings should be redone in Gravely Way, especially on the cushions so they're more visible, and also the chicane needs to be more visible as well, because that certainly does slow the traffic coming into the village from Gravely, which I did notice when that was put in several years ago. That did make a big difference. You can just hear the engines coming off the accelerator as they approaching that chicane. Not so much coming into the 30-mile-an-hour zone, but more when they realise there's a chicane there, they've got to slow down. What I'd like to see really is a recommendation, I don't know what the procedure is for this, is to put a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit down Gravely Way. It shouldn't inconvenience anybody. It's not a long stretch of road, but it would be safer for a lot of pedestrians that use that, not only the walkers, but there are also a lot of school children that come across from Westbrook, New England, Clerk, Gravely Way to get the bus, and they obviously use that road, have to cross it at least twice a day. So that would be my observations on that point. So thank you for listening. And by the way, I'd like to commend the council on the excellent renovations to the walkways across the watercourses over the green. It's done a good job there. Looks and feels very good. Thank you.
Cambridge County Council is replaced there. Well done, Cambridge County Council.
Oh, right.
Just on your point there, Doug might mention the 20-mile-an-hour campaign across Cambridgeshire, and he'll be able to give some information.
Thank you.
Thank you. John?
Regarding the bridge here at the side, I don't know whether you've noticed or if anybody's noticed from the council that the far end of it has been filled in with gravel, and it isn't completely wood base right up to the hard walkway. It's been filled in with gravel. I trod on it and wondered where the hell I was going because my foot went into the gravel.
I think Nicola's been on to Cambridge County Council about the bridges and some remedial work that needs to be done with regards to removing bits of wood and things like that. So thank you. Richard?
I don't know what's going to be discussed under 193 green open spaces, but I'm hoping there'll be a discussion on the dredging of the ponds and more significantly the disposal of the sediment on the wilderness, about which I've got some serious concerns.
I'm sure that will be covered during the course of the meeting. Good. And
On 195, the LHI bid.
yeah,
If you remember at the last meeting, when it was deferred to this meeting, I requested that the PC Traffic Working Group attended or was part of that discussion. And obviously there's been discussions taking place where they haven't been. So the real point I made there was, I don't know who has got more knowledge about the HGVs going through the village. Hilton Action on Traffic are monitoring it on a daily basis, reporting between 10 and 20 a day. We've had responses from over 450 operators we've written to, and therefore always asking why they're coming through and collecting that sort of data. So I would have hoped it would have been valuable as part of your discussions on deciding what you're going to put forward for an LHI bid to have that information. So just surprised that it wasn't taken account of. And
when we come to the LHI bid, you'll find out.
okay. Okay, I don't know what's in there, so I'll just have to, you may be duplicating what you're going to cover. And interested to know, I think there's been a focus on signs on the southern part of the road, which is good. That is absolutely where the focus should be, but where and what signs are going to go, and therefore how do you arrive at the cost of what those signs would be, and who's, I guess, going to advise on where those signs should be.
Yeah, we've got some information.
Okay, thank you.
So thank you. Doug and Claire, who would like to go first?
Oh, ladies first, Claire, after you.
Sorry, Ian, I didn't see you hadn't got your hand up, had you?
Excuse me, I've not got much of a voice today. Today I'm just basically highlighting the importance that it's the Greater Cambridge Partnership sustainable travel consultation going on at the moment, and it's really important that the Parish Council and residents get involved in feeding back. So there is online there's the link for the Greater Cambridge Partnerships consultation, and I'm just emphasising the point that whilst we know there's an important need for improving public transport in Huntingdonshire, we also understand the merits of the environmental concern that this consultation highlights. We are also aware of residents' concerns surrounding the whole consultation, and that's why it's really important that residents feed back during this process. The deadline is the 23rd of December. So if you have any questions on that, do ask me or Doug. Also updates to the council. So there's currently a have your say on public services for HDC. So again, encouraging residents and the council to get involved in having your say on any issues around public services. And also the boundary commission change as well. The consultation has been extended to the 5th of December, and that's the parliamentary constituency boundary changes. So again, encouraging anyone to have your say on that. In district level as well, there's Derek Giles, the former councillor who was a sitting councillor, has unfortunately passed away, and so there is now going to be a by-election. Hasn't yet been called, but there's going to be a by-election for St Neots. And yes, there's apparently 22 affordable housing being built in Huntingdonshire, and just various things going on, but I think that's what's relevant to today. So, yeah.
Thank you, Claire. Any questions? Claire?
No, good evening. Thank you everyone for having me here again. Appreciate it. Claire and myself are starting to work quite closely together because a lot of the stuff we do overlaps, especially where the combined authority is concerned. And those of the people who aren't aware, we've not only got the two higher authority councils that sit over the top of parish councils in this area, but now we've also got a combined authority for Cambridgeshire and Peterborough, and it's taken over a lot of the strategic duties that the county council used to have. Although the county council still deliver them, they're responsible for funding them and also working alongside them. So as Claire's mentioned, one thing that's going on at the moment is the Greater Cambridgeshire Partnership, which is basically the City of Cambridge and South Cambridgeshire, who've got their own transport money, who are looking quite seriously at how they can, number one, control the traffic in and around Cambridge, because I think, despite the fact that some of the options have become uncoupled, and there's this campaign at the minute to stop the access charge for Cambridge. Actually, that's just one of the answers, and that people are being asked to consult on. But somehow or another, it's become uncoupled and seems to have got its life of its own. I think whatever needs to be done at the end of the day, and that may or may not be the answer. Those of us who travel into Cambridge regularly during working times now realise that we're back to pre-COVID levels of congestion in and around the town. Sorry, the city. I mustn't upset them. I called them a town, must I? Around the city, it's actually. The A14 is moving well, but once you're off of that and in the city itself, it's as bad as it ever was. So something has to be done. As I say, I'm not saying the congestion charge is the answer. I personally am not sure it is, but I think there's some answers that need to be come up with. And the issues around public transport are probably an answer to a lot of it. But our public transport in this area is so poor. It's got to be improved, significantly before it really gives you the answer where I suddenly go, actually I'll go in on the bus because I know there's going to be one every 15 minutes instead of every 2 days. So it actually, there's a lot of work to be done. So I think it's important that once again we do contribute, and whatever your opinion is, put it in there. On the back of that, the Cambridgeshire and Peterborough Mayor is also responsible for the rest of the county, and he's working in tandem, or rather he's not working in tandem because he's actually ill at the moment, but the authority is working in tandem to try and deliver bus services across Cambridgeshire. At the moment, I think from the meeting I attended last week, there's a bit of a wall on that, some big aspirations that we would like to see, and from what I saw, the funding that's available next year doesn't even cover the work that's being done this year. Plus, if you remember, there was a load of services that were cancelled about 3 months ago. It doesn't even pick those up for next year on the current budget. So there's some real strategic work where the mayor's got to bid from the government money to actually provide better services. So once again, there's a lot of work done there. With regard to the county itself, not a lot to report at the moment because we're in an in-between stage between the last meeting that I attended here and the next one. All our meetings are looking at the budgets for next year, as I advised you, kick off. I'm in 2 this week and then 1 next week, so they're all coming through. So by the time we next meet, they'll have gone to the full council on the 13th, and I'll have an idea as to where we are there, and maybe even an idea as to how much the government's going to be topping it up by, because that's the key to making it work. There is a suggestion from the combined authority that the mayor may also look to do a local precept, so some of the things he can do. It sounds horrendous, but he can charge something like 2p in the pound on what the county can, so it's not a large amount, but he may use that as one of the ways to fund the transport issues. Otherwise, the county are looking hard at their budgets. Highways is still the problem it's always been. I'm quite concerned that we still haven't got a permanent highways officer in here. I've been in position now, nearly 2 years, and we haven't had a permanent highways officer in all that time, which doesn't make it easy for me. I just about build a relationship up, or your clerk does, and they're no sooner off and we've got another one to work on, so it does make it difficult to build that continuity. So I'm pushing hard for that and having a few tantrums, which I'm quite good at doing, and I'm still hopeful, I think I'm more in hope than expectation, to be honest with you. Otherwise, going forward, I'm still quite keen that active travel or cycling and walking is encouraged as much as possible. There's a few routes in this area that were in plans going back a few years ago. I think I mentioned at the last meeting that I'd actually managed to find them because they'd actually disappeared into between the paving cracks. So they're there again. There's no actual funding for them at the minute. There's a line in the sand and an amount, but no actual funding to do it. But there is a programme going through at the moment to to try and work with the combined authority to get more money available to deliver such schemes, because there is a need for it. Moving on to another issue that I mentioned last month, but we said we mentioned now, is the local highways initiative, which is a funded bid that comes around. Is it once a year or twice now? I can't remember how many times once. Comes around once a year. Each parish council, or in the city of Cambridge, because they don't have parish councillors, each county councillor, so myself, has 2 bids they can put in for local works. In the past, this village has been quite successful in getting some projects through there, such as the speed reductions, the pedestrian crossings. I think you've had those out. And indeed the works that you mentioned earlier had been done so well, but in recent years it's been very bogged down by the 20-mile-an-hour applications. And what we've actually done now is, going forward, there's going to be 2 separate bids, and the parish council bid for the local highways initiatives, so i.e. the things like, if we take the speeding, the 7.5 tonne limit work that was so vital to the village, that you could put a bid in for that, and at the same time, in the same year, you can put a separate bid into another pot for the 20-mile-an-hour limits. Now, what we did at the last highways meeting, and it should be confirmed tomorrow, is we said, rather than encouraging each parish necessarily to put bids in, we across the county would put a bid in on behalf of every parish to the combined mayor and say, can you go off and get us a pot of money to deliver these? So effectively, if any community wants them, they can be delivered without the rigmarole that we had in the past, where you had to have police support, and somewhat counterintuitively, if the average speed was more than 24 miles an hour, you couldn't have one. If it was less than that, you could, which sounds slightly wrong there, but that sort of rule is going to go. So it's far more, if local people and communities want that to be delivered, it can be, so bids can go forward on that, and I hope that will help with things like that. With things like the markings that are done, I'm sure the clerks mark them down, and you've got an excellent clerk here, and she'll be reporting it anyway. And I normally support those on the back as well. I get asked, do they need doing? We've had success elsewhere in the division where they've been done. So, yeah.
But they haven't done them periphery.
Yeah, that's it. No, but just let me know when you do it, and I'll always support the village on that. And as I say, next time round, when we've gone through all the budgets, I might have something hopefully exciting to tell you, rather than just the rigmarole. But if you've got any questions at all, please ask Claire. She volunteered me to answer those. No, please ask either. I was more than happy. Thank you.
There's also one point that I forgot to add, which was on there's a community chest grant available for things like warm hubs from the district council. I know Constantin has taken it up, so if Hilton also would like to look into it, do get in contact with me as well, as that's available for the cost of living.
Yeah, and that applies if you've already got a group that's doing it, they can actually do with the funding to help deliver it, rather than you have to do something new. It's really just a... Yeah, it's all worth it doing, as Claire said. The money's available, so you might as well bid for it.
The village hall has got an application at the moment for a warm hub, which is being considered this week. Can I ask one question?
Of course you can.
On the paperwork for the County Council Highways meeting,
Yes.
about the 20-mile-an-hour speed limits,
Yes.
is there a deadline for us to submit a bid if it gets through this week?
I don't know. I'll have to find out for you, is the honest answer. I can make one up, but it would be made up, so I'll find out. I will ask the clerk tomorrow, because it's tomorrow afternoon, isn't the meeting?
Yes, I have a feeling that there is.
Yeah, it is tomorrow afternoon. I will find out and let you know. Well, I'll let you know via the clerk, and she can let you all know then, so that'll be good.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you,
Okay.
Well done. Thank you very much indeed. And then we will go back to the parish council meeting now. So if anybody wants to leave at this point, you're more than welcome. You're also very welcome to stay.
Nothing personal. I will take you up on that.
Nice to see you there. Thank you for coming. Next item on the agenda is the minutes of the parish council meeting held on Monday, the 7th of November. And also the minutes of the planning committee's meeting held on Monday, the 7th of November. Okay, so first of all, the parish council meeting minutes of the 7th of November. We do have enough people here to approve them, or adopt them. Hopefully, if you have any queries, you can let Nicola know right now. And on the basis that I haven't got any queries, I would propose that we adopt them. seconded by Heather. John, yeah, that's it. I think. Claire, did you raise your hand to adopt those minutes? Sorry.
No one hand.
And then there is a Parish Council Planning Committee meeting on the 7th of November. John, Rob and myself, but Rob had to be Sarah, so I would propose that those minutes are adopted. John seconded and Sarah. Sorry, okay, not that one.
So I'm abstaining.
Yes, thank you. So there we go. So there's those two. The next item on the agenda is Clerk's report.
The culvert near to Green End House, a resident has advised that the wall of the culvert is damaged, and I will be speaking to the Cambs Council to check who is actually responsible for the culvert wall as it enters the highway. And if it is the Parish Council that's responsible, then I'll get a quote for a future meeting. I've received notification that the hourly rate for hire of the Methodist Church will increase to £9 per hour effective from the 1st of January. I recently attended a webinar entitled GDPR Principles and Policies Protecting Practices, and on the back of that we'll be drafting a new GDPR policy for our future meeting. I am attempting to arrange a meeting with a representative from the Hilton Wildlife and Conservation Group to select the design for the bench near to the Wilderness Bridge. The dredging work began on Monday the 28th, and materials being heaped in the wilderness. I have asked the contractor to stick to the track as much as possible and limit the damage that he's causing to the wilderness by driving in his own tracks. I've spoken with 2 different agricultural contractors who have confirmed that they are able to spread the material across the wilderness, both of whom have stated that they'll quote once the dredging is complete and they can see the final volume and quality of material. I have had a complaint from one parishioner who queried why the material has been deposited in the wilderness, and I've responded to that. PKF Littlejohn LLP has been appointed as the external auditor for the next 5 years by the smaller authorities' audit appointments. The cost of the external audit will increase from 200 plus VAT to 10 plus VAT. I have purchased a 25 kilo bag of daffodils, which arrived this morning. I've been to the County Archive and deposited the minute books from 1983 to 2020 and the account books from 1939 to 2007, together with the pages from the condolence book for Her Late Majesty Queen Elizabeth. I have completed the SIL report for 21-22, which has then been submitted to HDC and published on the Parish Council website as required by law. There's been a couple of street lights reported to the maintenance contractor. PC6 in Westbrook was not working at all, and PC19 in Grovend wasn't turning off during the day, so it's probably a faulty sensor. The police have followed up with me regarding the report from the damage to the green caused by the metal detectorists, and they're still looking into the registration number that we were provided. I have received notification from the county that the B1040 either side of the village, but not through the village, will be surface dressed in February 2023. I have queried that with the maintenance manager at the county. And the council's bid for a year-round colour pack of 105 trees from the Woodland Trust has been successful, and the trees are due to be delivered in March.
Thank you. Okay, and the next item on the agenda is to review and ratify the decisions made under the scheme of delegation. We, during the month, Rob and I and Nicola completed the Greater Cambridgeshire Partnership Making Connections consultation, which included feedback regarding the proposed congestion charge. One of the lights that we put up on the cricket pavilion wasn't working, so I authorised the purchase of a new string of lights at £23.32 plus VAT. And we put in the request, because some of the trees that we work on are within the conservation area.
Or are protected.
We've got a request that we agree with the work being done, so we said yes, we did agree with the work being done. And got past the work being done as a parish council meeting. So forward, didn't it? So I have to ask you to ratify the decisions made under the scheme of delegation, I would propose that they are ratified. Seconded over there. Right. Green open spaces. Right. Emergency work has been carried out on the Overton Wilderness. 2 lengths left to be moved to block the secondary wilderness access. Unfortunately, one was chopped up, and the clerk has attached a sign to the remaining oak to advise that it is not firewood. And the WI Jubilee tree has been planted in the wilderness. Any reports from the Green Open Spaces Committee? Haven't they this month? Okay. I'm going to go off the agenda at this moment in time because I know that there is unrest and unhappiness regarding the dredging of the ponds and the depositing of the silt on the green, and I will make a statement. The decision was made to accept the grant of however much it was by Hilton Parish Council from Cambridgeshire County Council to dredge the 5 ponds. This was following a visit to the village and consultation from the environmental officer at Cambridgeshire County Council,
Flood resilience.
Flood resilience officer at Cambridgeshire County Council, who advised us that there was some money available and looked at the ponds and said it would be a good thing to have them dredged. And we have received requests from people within the village to make sure that the ponds were dredged to alleviate the possibility of future flooding. When it was agreed by the Parish Council that we were to take that forward, we were then notified that the removal of the debris or the silt would not be included in that grant, and because of the amount that was involved, it would cost up to £400,000 to remove off-site. Consultation was held in the village, and we were advised that the ability to spread the debris or the sludge or the silt on the wilderness would not harm the wilderness, would not harm the growth in that wilderness. That yes, it would look unsightly for a while, but it would be, once it all been done, and perhaps after it's dried a bit, it would be spread across the wilderness to a depth of about that much. The vegetation would grow through, and that would be at a cost considerably less than transporting it off-site. If the Parish Council had decided that it needed to be taken off-site, on an average it would have meant about an extra £1,000 per household on their precept. That wasn't decided to be taken up. It does look unsightly, but the work will continue. We have signed a contract to complete the dredging of the 5 ponds, and when it's complete, we will look at what is on the green. We were advised how much volume there would be at the last meeting, and action will be taken to continue the sifting of that. We might look at getting a volunteer group together to do that, and then it will be spread. We think that probably with hindsight, a little clearer instruction to the contractors may have been appropriate at the outset to set out where they were going and what they would do, but that is where we are. The work will be completed over the next few days, and then we can review what needs to be done next.
I've just got one thing to add, having worked closely on the heap that's there at the moment. Given where we are in terms of the progress and the number of ponds that have already been dredged and the size of the pile, I think the estimate of 200 cubic metres is a massive overestimate. I would say there is about no more than 20 cubic metres there at the moment, and we're halfway through, are we, Nicola?
2 ponds to
Still
go.
got Moose Ditch to go, that's the biggest.
But the suggestion would be that we'll probably get to sort of 70 rather than 200, so the estimate of 2 centimetres is probably less than a centimetre won't spread. I know it won't spread beautifully, it does do clearer, but I think it's probably better than a conservative estimate.
Thank you. Heather?
The only thing else I'd like to add is that I think it was £30,000 of the grant that we received, which would otherwise have had to come out of the precept if we wanted to dredge the ponds, which we haven't got that amount of money. And they have put in the silt trap as well, haven't they, in the where?
No, Kidneys Farm.
In Kidneys Farm, sorry, which will help alleviate from flooding in the future.
Potential.
Hopefully.
I'd like to emphasise that at one of the meetings, members of the council raised doubts and wanted further consultation before the deal was accepted. It was referred to the open spaces, and we had a significant report which said that what was going to be spread would not be toxic. I have since had a conversation with Dr. Randall, who is an expert in these matters himself, and he feels that in due course it will not cause any damage, especially if it's spread rather than left in one heap.
And
So that is, and I've also heard a parishioner be very grateful for the dredging of the pond of Gravely Way because of the flood risk that's perceived by people living there. Whether that's right or not, I don't know, but that's a considerable perception because it did flood very considerably some years ago.
So
But
there
I
is a
think
balance.
consultation with experts in the village in these matters is important, and we should not rush to take up any offers without proper consultation.
Thank you. And there is a balance because obviously some people want one thing, other people don't want the other side. And that's where we are. And it's done. And we are in a contract and the work will be finished.
Could I just raise something? The green is a really sensitive area. It's sensitive emotionally in the village, and it is also sensitive from a wildlife point of view. And a lot of people in the village have accosted me about this scheme, and I just would like it minuted that some of it's been quite abusive, and there's been a lot of strength of feeling. I sent an email with these in this week, and it would be good at some point to address the list of concerns, of which there are many. I understand some people here haven't heard from anybody, but I think when you walk your dog twice a day in the green, you tend to get accosted. I mean, I'm sure Nicola will be able to attest to this, that if anybody's cross about anything, they grab the person that they see in front of them, don't they? So some of these, they vary quite a bit from the timing of the work, which you have answered, but and I can go back about that, but not just nutrient enrichment of the sward to detriment of biodiversity, smothering effect of sediments. Are you putting these in the minutes?
I wasn't going to minute every single point.
Well, I would like you to minute some of them.
It's not on the agenda in the first place. I would just like to mention I made a statement about the state of the green. We can put this on the agenda for the next meeting.
Okay. Well, what I was going on
address your comments.
I was just, yeah, well, I was also going to go on to say was some of the damage that people are talking about, I think, could have been avoided.
Yeah.
And I would propose that we put on the next agenda a clause in future capital schemes which involve heavy plans on sensitive areas of the village, that the contractors are briefed carefully beforehand. I'm sure they had instructions beforehand, but I didn't see them, so I don't know. That they will use things like, say, matting. In fact, while John and I were there, a man came up to us walking his dog, and he was like, well, why don't you put matting down? And it's a simple, it's quite an easy thing to do. Or you can ask for them to use equipment that is lower impact. Or you can ask them to, you put in a plan, say, or a diagram, which shows exactly what their route on and off the area in question is, and that they're restricted to that. They only use the tracks where they park the vehicles. I've had somebody complaining about the fact that there's a tractor and trailer being parked there all weekend. When we've got signs up, he hastened to tell me, that say he can't park on the green, so why have we allowed them to park there? And I haven't got an answer to that. I said I haven't got an answer to that.
Answer, is it?
No, but if we want people to obey the signs in the village, then we need to be sort of We could
But
tell
people
them
will
when to
raise
park.
the silliest thing.
Yeah, I get
Amazing.
that, but I just think we could put that in at the start of something. It's not a difficult thing to put down, and then people like me on the dog walk would have a happier time, for one thing.
And as
Yeah.
I've said before, any comments directed to individual councillors, please ask the individual directing them to you to direct them to the clerk.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, please. And we will put that other bit on the agenda for the next meeting. Thank you very much.
Can I just make one further observation, please,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair?
Go on, Councillor.
I think Rob will probably bear me out on this one because he actually did about the lion's share of the sifting.
You've both done very excellent.
It is an Herculean task. I mean, the rakes themselves are not unsubstantial to hold at arm's length, and actually the debris is so embedded in the silt, due to the tipping.
Yeah.
It's almost cemented in, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's like a total ball.
So just a little observation that the spreading, I think it will be far from debris free. You will need a massive resourcing to achieve that. And so Rob's observation might be the only way, which is some sort of picking after spreading, subject to it going through the spreader. So that's something that we ought to.
I assume they load the spreader with some sort of digger to lift it into the spreading machine from, certainly when I worked on a farm, that was how it was done, whether it's improved, I don't know. But at that point, a lot of the organic matter, like the reeds, are in big clumps, so it should be possible at that time to kind of just dump those big ones to one side for us to manually sort out. But it's difficult, as you say, when they're covered in a mountain of other sludge and clay.
And the half bricks and the tree boughs.
And it might be that this is a job that's not done within a review when we see the final new Hill of Hilton. Okay, thank you. The next item on the agenda is to consider the consultation regarding the 2022-2023 local highways improvement bid for a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit across the green and to decide upon any actions. So we talked about this last month, that the police officer, had said that they weren't necessarily going to support the bid to reduce the speed limit. We said we'd still go ahead and pursue the reduction in the speed limit across the green from 40 to 30. And the consultation period is now open, correct? And any comments should be made in writing to be received no later than the 21st of December. And that will be posted on our Facebook page and on the website, unless it is already.
It hasn't been so far, has it?
But we'll still do that. Decide upon any actions, such as?
Would the Parish Council like to respond to the consultation?
Yes, I should think we would. Yeah. So we would like to respond to the consultation by supporting the application. Yeah. I propose that we respond to the application by supporting it. Yep.
And asking villagers to do so as well.
Yes, and asking villagers. But that's a slightly separate thing, because this is a resolution for the Parish Council to take action to do in response to the consultation. All those in favour? Thank you. And then we will ask parishioners to do so by advertising it on Facebook, on the website, mentioning that the 21st of December is the closing date. Yeah? Good. You don't want us to vote, so tell them to do that, do you?
Right.
Do you want to vote? Yeah, go on, I propose we do that. Heather seconded, everybody in favour. Thank you very much. Good. Right, so that's that one. Now, discuss and decide upon the 2023-2024 LHI bid. So this is no, that was right. What did we do? We discussed the raise at the crossing, the price of which had increased to something like £35,000. And we decided that on this particular LHI bid, we would concentrate on HGV signage on the 1198, which is to, because as we know, as you come up from Papler on 1198, there is no official sign saying HGV ban in Hilton. Nicola has spoken to Cambridge County Council, and they have said, I've just done a quick costing a sign slightly less than £100 difference between the two signs. One is blue, the other is blue. One says, just needs to come up, one says weight limit in Hilton be 1040, and the other one says weight limit in Hilton B1 1040, use Huntingdon, for Huntingdon use A1198, which appears to me that might be the better one. And the Cambridge County Council contact feels that £2,200, as previously advised, should cover any potential price increases for materials between now and the sign being installed. So the recommendation, so first, which sign would you like?
I think the second one.
I think that
Directs the seems different road.
yes,
Yeah.
it would be a little more practical. And so the proposal is that Hilton Parish Council submits its next LHI bid for application window closing on Friday, the 6th of January, for signage on the 1198A1198. But for this lovely blue sign, it says weight limit in Hilton B, brackets B1040, close brackets, a nice round order 7.5 ton truck. For Huntingdon, use A1198, for which we are advised the price of £2,200 should cover it. I'd like to propose that we do that.
Do we have any say on where it goes?
We can ask. There may be rules that say it must go here, or there may be rules that it must go between here, and therefore you can be involved in the discussion. No, I'm speaking about a particular location, but the fact that it is on the approach to the ship will have that.
And there's no suggestion they're going to move those existing signs closer to the roundabout. They can't do that.
That's like £2,200.
Happy? We propose that we do our try and bid for that sign. I propose that. Seconded by Claire. All in favour? Thank you. To consider the responses to the public health project survey and decide upon the project bid. Now, I haven't been part of the working group here, so perhaps you would like to lead us on that, would you? Or would you like me to start?
So there was not many responses to the survey. I think we had 25 off the top of my head. The working group have looked at the survey and we've had a couple of comments. The current recommendation is for a petanque court, a boulodrome, to be placed in the Grove. So you will have a couple of dying elms removed to leave a nice open space that will then have hard-grown ground on it, some sleepers around the edge to keep the material in, and some nice benches for people to sit and chat on. The feeling of the working group was that the need identified in the village based on what the current provision is and our demographics suggests that there's a lot available for those that want to go and join a club, and there are more clubs available for older women than there are older men. So that this would be a place to go if you didn't want to join a club and you were an older man to meet that need.
Am I part of the working group? Well, I think I didn't agree with the location proposed, and I felt it should be near the sports pavilion as part of our sporting offering.
So,
the playground in the Grove. So the issue with next to the pavilion is the fact that it's common land, and we would be interfering with the commoners' rights. So therefore, the Section 38 application would be required. Because it only works for the resurfacing of the green.
Agreed, but I think we should make a Section 38 application because I think that's the right place for it.
This grant has to be spent in a certain amount of time. I don't know that we've got time to do a Section 38 on this.
before we go that far down the conversation, how much would the petanque
Petanque.
court cost?
We don't know at this point.
Would it be would the grant that you've got so far be sufficient to cover it, or would you have to make another grant to get it?
We would probably have to make another grant bid to get it. I mean, you could spend, we've got about 2,200 left to spend. You could probably spend that on benches.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there would be an additional grant to apply for. We've been told we can apply for up to £8,000 of additional money. So there is money in the pot there that we just have to apply for with an identified need.
And that, you would then get a quote to find how much it would cost to level a piece of ground?
Yeah.
Make it hard standing?
Certainly packed MOT.
So if you
that
did
would
that
be my
on...
assumption what Tonk Court and Boulodrome is built on.
So if that was done on the green, you'd have to find a replacement piece of land?
I don't know, it would probably be small enough that you wouldn't, because
Right.
if a certain size, I don't know that you would, but you would certainly have to go down the section 38 route, which, as I say, would require consultation, agreement with stakeholders, and then application to the Secretary of State for their consent.
Ladies and gentlemen.
I think the first thing to do is, what Claire said earlier was, we need to consult. We can't just do one person say that's what it's going to be. It's going to be the village sort of decide whether they want this in this location or this location. So before we start making section 38 applications, I think that would be a starting point.
The deadline for grant application, the grant application has to be in by the end of January.
That's still plenty of time to ask around. You really need a list of names of supporters, don't you, people in town? I was disappointed that the leaflet didn't have suggestions for people as to things that they might want to do. And it seemed to me that it was rather soon after the other survey, so I think the timing wasn't right. I have wondered whether a lunch club would be a good thing for individuals in the village, people who are on their own, something that's set up in the village hall by volunteers, but could also be part of the grant application because it would need a little bit of funding to kick-start it. But it would be a good thing for the village to be seen to do, and I know several other villages run similar schemes. So it's meeting the same demographic and their needs.
Yeah, so rather than an outdoor activity, an
Indoor activity, yes. Good practice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And that hasn't figured in the consultation?
It wasn't something that came out, as I say, there's a lot of options in terms of clubs that you can attend during the day for the older woman, so it's finding things for the older man.
The survey was more what you want to see rather than giving suggestions to what you might
choices.
do. There weren't any choices. I think that was progressive.
Thank you. Any comments from other councillors?
Just a quick bit. If we do something with the pavilion, there's an option there to create something for
use
them.
this grant for improving
Right.
the pavilion, so there's,
But-
this grant is a separate little pot.
Right, okay, but that just aside, when we do something at the pavilion, there will be an opportunity there to provide things for the older man in terms of like maybe darts, pool, table tennis, getting your table.
Coming up.
Yeah. Kind of, it'd be like a sports pavilion and a sports
We would
club,
all
wouldn't it?
like to see that, I think. I think that would be
Yeah.
a great step forward because it is, as we said before at previous meetings, a wasted resource. It's not used and it should be used.
Can we not spend, given there's a limited time with grant money, can we not buy something that's not location dependent, like can we buy benches or something that we know will be useful for any of these activities?
Oh,
And then have a longer time, as Kieran says, to survey to make sure the village wants a tank course and where it wants it and that kind of thing.
I don't know, to be honest, I'd have to go back to the grant advisors and ask that sort of question.
If the council decide that having a tank court in the village is a good thing, could we buy the wood which we know we're going to need for the surround, which is quite expensive anyway, and then delay the location of it until later on?
There is a deadline on this the allocation of the money. I'm not clear on whether we have to have actually spent it or whether it's just that the money has to be allocated to the project by May. But
So we could say that we wanted the town court, but we don't have to specify the location just yet.
again, I can ask the question. I don't know how general we can be, or they also want feedback. So there needs to be, there'll be monitoring on this. So if our feedback is that we've had some benches and wood and it's sat behind the pavilion not doing anything, then we haven't met the requirements of the grant.
Could we use the money for something else that would benefit, but we haven't mentioned? Say like, I don't know, badminton net and stuff, something like that, which isn't location dependent and which you can store in the pavilion and you can get out when you want it, so we don't lose the money, is what I'm thinking, because that would be a quick thing to apply for.
It doesn't cost £8,000 though to get badminton net.
No, it doesn't. But it was an example, really. Is there something else in the meantime that's not
the whole idea is to
dependent?
make a bigger statement. It's to
Right,
do
okay.
something.
It was just
And it needs
thought.
Yeah, that was a good point, I thought, because if you could get some equipment to go alongside with
I was just
the other equipment.
as an example,
Would that
there may be other things on that.
There are already balls in the pavilion that were bought as part of the living room.
Is there any other equipment that could be augmented to the living grant equipment? If that makes sense. As you're, because the thing is about health inequalities, the answer is to provide more opportunity for people to become healthier, correct? Both mental health and physical health. So there is an amount of equipment already obtained which lives in the pavilion and is used. Is there any more equipment that could be added to that to be used by the groups that use that? That's what you were saying.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to have time to go through and get something done by the 31st of January, I think. So what about that? And would that satisfy the needs of the grant? And what do people think?
We need to be able to monitor it. So again, there's forms to fill in with. So whoever's participating at the beginning has to fill in a form, rate their health, and say at the end how much their health improved because of the impact of this grant.
Could we use it to buy rakes and equipment too?
For your exercise today, registered.
So when we did the Keep Fit on the Green,
Yes.
Tai Chi and things like that, we employed somebody
Did.
from Hunts District Council to do those things on the green. Tai Chi had 30 people, Fitness on the Green had about a dozen. Lots of people said it was a wrong time of day for them to participate, but if you've got grants then you can do that. It could be that some individuals make a personal profit from it, which we may have to counter with everything else.
That's not really sustainable though, is it? If you've got a pot of money, you want to make an investment, don't you? Over a longer period.
Sustainability is one of the criteria that you have to answer in this grant.
Well, so a course of 6 weeks.
If you did it as a course of 6 weeks, it would be with the intention of, so like, the HTC are running courses at the moment, it's like 6 weeks introduction to yoga, with the intention that you are then comfortable to go and join a mainstream yoga class. So it's for people that have never done yoga before to then introduce them to it slowly and then send them off to join a normal yoga class.
And that's acceptable under the grant.
HTC are running them currently.
What do we need to decide in this meeting? Do we need to decide what we're going to spend money on?
Idea say, you've got until the end of January to have completed your bid.
Yeah.
Realistically, you need to have something in place by the end of December, bearing in mind that I normally take most of January off as annual leave because I never take it during the year. So, January is always a slow month.
Can we?
Is this an opportunity for a small group of people to get together to make some plans?
Yeah, can we delegate the authority to make that decision
Not to a working group, no.
To a person?
No. The only person you can delegate to in this situation is me. Officer or committee you can delegate decision making to. So it
Could a
form
group of
committee,
people
they
get
have to
together
meet.
and research it and make some proposals to you, and you then
Decide.
arbitrate?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it sounds like there's lots of good ideas, but rather than rush it through in 5 minutes, why don't we have a bigger meeting and then advise the clerk what we think is the right decision to spend the money on?
So the decision would have to sit with me. What happens when the working group doesn't agree?
With your decision.
No, half the working group want to put it on the pavilion, half the working group want to put it
That's
in
taking
the
a
road.
pessimistic view.
It is taking a pessimistic view, but, you know, it's
I
kind
think
of...
about the group of people.
Yeah. So, you know, at what point do I then make that decision? This is why you're a council, and one person's not meant to make the decisions.
So there is a view that, one, is the town called what you want, and two, the people around this table have a vote on where you locate it, if that's where you want it, if that's what you want to see in the village, or do you think it needs to go out to a wider consultation?
I think if it's going to go on the green, it needs to go to the wider consultation.
Okay.
It would have to go to a wider consultation as part of section 13.
Yeah, but I mean, even before we start that process.
I'm not absolutely clear where you would put it on the green. I'm sorry. Did you say by the sports pavilion?
Yeah.
In front of the sports pavilion or to the
No,
side?
because the cricket pitch goes there. I think
Yeah.
the two locations I think are suitable to the right of the pavilion.
So facing the pavilion to the right, because to the left it's close to the ditch, isn't it?
Yes.
Pavilion. So to the right of it, but you've got the road going past it.
It's
You
also
have.
very slopey there,
And
quite
it's a
down.
slope.
No, but there are some flat stretches. Anyway, look, I don't think this is a discussion for now.
Okay. No, just curious.
Sorry.
Right, so the other proposal is that the working group discuss on a wider basis what actually could be applied for within the timescales, within the grant, and make a proposal to Nicola for that to be completed and done. That wouldn't come to council for full voting, but it would be submitted. You would need to know what we've done with them. Before you have time off, I should say. How does anybody feel about that?
I agree.
Claire agrees.
We're on a group at the
Because it
moment.
depends on where we,
Yeah.
what we're actually talking about. If it's equipment to have the pavilion.
I assume we were talking about a small group of people to be deciding on how to spend, if it were granted to us, how to spend that money.
Yeah.
That's what I understood
No.
we were voting on.
No, you're putting the cart before the horse. You don't get the money until you say what you're going to spend it on.
Yeah, well, understood. I understand that.
Yeah, so
Sorry, I didn't
Yeah.
put it correctly.
No, I thought
totally
it was
understand
that we would be voting to say a group of people can get together and discuss what they could get, then put that proposal to Nicola for the bid for the grant, is how everybody feels about that process.
I think it depends on the scope of what you could select. So any permanent structure or anything like that, I think needs to come to the council. And that needs to be consulted on generally, practically, and not over the Christmas period.
And then you run into the time slot.
Where if we're talking about portable equipment, that's an issue with that.
So, proposal. The working group gets together and discusses what portable equipment it might be able to apply for under the terms of the grant for the Health Inequalities Project, and requests that Nicola puts together a grant bid based on that for portable equipment.
are you restricting that to portable equipment,
That's
or are
what
you
the
looking
vote would be.
at
That's what my proposal is.
classes that Heather's
Portable equipment and classes. If you can get those sort of feed taster classes within that project, why not?
Well, maybe restricted to that, I'd say anything that's no permanent construction.
Because it's
Anything
not.
else would be fine.
The question is sustainability. How does that? And the answer to the sustainability is that these are taster classes that would lead people to be able to then go and join a permanent group or whatever have you, do it online or what have you. So, yeah, why not explore that? So somewhere in there's a proposal that a working group get, and is this going to be the working group that already have met with regards to the health inequalities project?
Who's on that group?
Who's on the group?
I think it needs to be a wider group.
It's currently Ed, Claire, Sarah and Rob.
Okay, if anybody else would like to go on that group,
Yes, please.
you say now, Heather would like to go on that group. Nina, was that your hand?
No, I'm
Kieran, thank you very much.
Plus the original members.
Yeah, well, yeah. And they will discuss anything non-permanent, including classes and portable equipment, to be proposed to you and to be put forward in an application for a grant. If appropriate, you may decide that there isn't any, or you may decide there is. Okay, happy? Thank you very much. Well, I'll propose that. Any seconds or anything like that? No? We have a second, all in favour? Thank you. Right, the next, well done. The next item is the folding table tennis. Yes, hurrah, huzzah, we got the grant. Well done, thank you very much. Bats and balls, and so we have some money, and we're going to spend it on a table tennis table with folding, a bats, balls, cover, and it's going to be kept in the correct?
So
To agree the purchase of.
To agree the purchase?
Yeah, so to agree the purchase. So how much have we got in from the grant? That's what
1367.
1367. So the proposal is that we spend up to £1,367 on a table tennis table folding, cover for a folding table tennis table, bats, a number, balls up to 72 apparently, Frank. There are bargains still to be had in this world, honestly. And it says assembly £99. I'm not sure what
I
it
missed
is.
the £7 for delivery. Do we add that into the...
Oh yes, it
No,
says.
but there was a sale on the bats, so if I can get them, it all marries out.
It says here plus £7 delivery.
I know, it made me
£8 for the balls and £7 for delivery. Fantastic.
Well,
Um,
I can't add up, it's fine.
And all that comes to the amount of the grant and no more.
So the amounts quoted include that. So actually the cost to the council will be less. There may be some of this grant left over, and you
Yeah.
can then decide what you want to do.
Buy more balls.
Maybe more balls.
More balls or more bats. Okay, so the proposal is that we accept the grant money and we, we don't propose to accept the grant money, we've already got it. To purchase
Not
folding
to
table.
spend up to 1367 on a table tennis table and bats.
There's a resolution. All those in favour? Yes, that's it. Yeah. Right. The next item on the agenda is the asset register review. The cricket or the sports pavilion or pavilion was last valued in 2008 and the Lichgate was last valued in 2006. Maiden value this is. And the internal auditor has suggested that those two items should be revalued for insurance purposes.
And the whole asset register should be revalued for insurance purposes. I can do things like redemption online, I can't give you a value for a pavilion.
So Nicola's had a word with our local chartered surveyor and valuer, who has advised that they would charge us £250 to undertake that work.
So that's pavilion, Lichgate and the bus shelter. I can't find any time that the bus shelter was
Oh
valued.
yeah, and the bus
So I
shelter.
do have a value for it on for the actual purchase
Yeah.
value, whether that was the installation value. I haven't got the audit trail for that, because obviously it goes back to the 70s.
So the cost is £250. Now, it's something we need to do, and I appreciate it's not necessarily in the budget.
No, though you did underspend on your audit work, so you could call this part of the audit, or you just call it part of office and stationery.
Let's have a look. What could we use? Firstly, does everybody feel that we should do this?
Yes.
Okay. Then I propose we instruct the chartered surveyor valuer to undertake an evaluation for us. Pavilion, Lichgate and bus shelter, £250. There's the proposal. Seconded. And everybody in? Yep, thank you. Right, the next one is, so at the last meeting we discussed that there's a pile of gravel in the car park, and we asked the maintenance person to have a look at it and see if it was something that could perhaps be moved by himself or with a group of people to do it. But unfortunately, it's a bit impacted and needs to be broken up before it can be moved and redistributed. And we have a quote in here that that would cost £539.46 to do for the equipment, and that's for the equipment and a bag of new gravel and a bag of MOT. It would also involve us putting a £1,000 deposit down for the hire of the equipment, but that would be returned when the equipment was returned as well. That's £539.46. There's currently £500 in the car park earmark reserve, with an additional £50 coming from this financial year. So, goodness me, that almost balances me. I propose that we ask.
I just had one question.
Yep.
Sorry, is that I think our maintenance person suggests they wouldn't lead it, but would be part of the parish council-led group. So who's going to lead it?
Question. Well, in the past we've had a volunteer group that's done it. I'm sure we can do that again.
It can be as many parish councillors as you like. Can't it? So as many parish councillors as you like. Come forward and help.
Yeah. I'm happy to volunteer, it's just I'm concerned that I don't know how to do that groundwork around. Okay.
All those tractors that are busy dredging, you just run over it. Just run.
Good
Oh,
grief.
yeah.
Claire, do you know how many people complain? Digger in the car park. Goodness me. So the proposal is that we go ahead on this basis with the PC leading the works. There's a proposal?
Yep.
Seconded. All those in favour? Thank you very much. Continuing then, consider whether to respond to Cambridge and Peterborough Combined Authorities Alternative Fuel Strategy Consultation. We're right on time. And decide upon any action. So, the Combined Authority launched a consultation on a strategy to speed up the switch to electric, hydrogen and other renewable fuel vehicles in Cambridge and Peterborough. A bit behind times, I think so. We are inviting the public to have their say on alternative fuel strategy, and there's a lovely little consultation which finishes on the 21st of December, and they welcome us to join and do it, and I think they would also welcome individuals to do it as well. Yeah. So, we would, as we normally do, say, a couple of parish councillors to do this consultation online with Nicola before the 21st of December, and so that would be the first thing, and the second thing would be that we would advertise this to be for parishioners to do as well. Heather?
One of their strategies is to increase the amount of electric vehicle charging points.
It is.
Could we suggest that there's one on our land, on the car
I
park?
don't know whether that's a good in the consultation. Certainly across the country, charging points are the responsibility of either district or county council. Can't remember
It's
which
a
one.
big catch-22, isn't it?
Yeah.
The car park belongs to us, and
If, when we're filling in the form, there's a place to say,
so would the council support a charging point in the car park on our land?
In the village hall.
no, the parish council car park.
Sorry, the
joining
parish
the
council.
village hall.
Well, that is kind of that. So we need to
It's all that. It belongs to the parish council.
still...
Part of the common land.
Common
Yeah,
land.
it's common land, but so.
But if the parish
So it's
council
agreed, so
said that would be a good thing, then I agree there's a process to go through to ask the common rights holders and all the rest of it about common land. But as a parish council, would we support and suggest?
Well, the other issue that comes straight to mind is somebody will make a profit out of that electricity, unless it's... So
Well, it wouldn't be free to charge with it.
No,
because
so it would be a commercial company that would be doing
think that might be beyond the scope of this agenda item.
Okay.
But all I'm asking is if we're
I
going to
think
put
it's
the...
beyond the scope of the parish council, though. That's because it's not within our remit. The things that the parish council can do, I don't think electric vehicle charging points is included in that legally, because I think it's at a higher authority. But whether you would say in the consultation that you wouldn't mind coming to Hilton, and say they might say that if you have one, it would have to be up by the president.
No.
No. So, the proposal is that a couple of councillors come forward and say they'd like to do this online consultation with Nicola. First of all, Rob's seconding that. All those in favour?
Sorry, who was the other councillor?
Oh, you're volunteering. I was proposing, right. I was proposing that's what we want to do. So I think that's been voted on. And now, Rob has volunteered to do that. One other councillor, please. John. How do you do that? Okay. John, thank you very much. And the next proposal is that we advertise this on the village website or the parish council website and Facebook. You want us to vote on that as well? All those in favour? Thank you. Good. Right. Goodness me, the next page is blank. Why is that? A14 review meeting. At the end of last meeting, I advised that on that particular day, I had received a request from a market research company, a company, to join in an evaluation on the A14 Southern bypass. And I said that at this meeting, I would talk to them about noise, because that was still a concern within the village. I expanded it to actually include the dead trees and suggested that we would like to see something happen with all the replanting of the trees. So that was taken forward. I was asked what good thing I thought had come out of the Southern bypass thing. I said that I thought the journey into Huntingdon railway station was a good thing, because that is much better than it was. We talked about noise, and I asked, first of all, what will happen about the follow-up noise survey that we were told would happen, and also monitoring the traffic through the village, and that is being taken forward. And that was it. They're a company, they're going across local communities who are affected by the A14. I smiled because he asked me how we felt about the Histon and Girton interchange. I said, it's not us, we're Hilton. And so we then discussed Hilton. And we talked about the things that we represented Hilton at the planning inspectorate meetings, mitigation, and how we were looking at the trees dying. Those notes will be taken forward. I haven't had minutes of the meeting yet. They may well come, they may not. So that was it, really. There were no further actions. And that was my whole. Next on the agenda is to consider the recent accident on Grady Way and decide upon any actions. Okay. So in your documents you have got reports that a car crashed onto the chicane item on there again, which is the umpteenth time the cars have crashed on there. And we've heard the report from a parishioner kind of report that the chicane does a good job in slowing vehicles down as they come to the village. We've had requests here that the chicane is removed. And we've also written to Cambridge County Council talking about the accident, and they are going to replace the bollards with ones that are more visible and easier to maintain. Might have a bigger reflective strip on them. There are some of these on Potton Road as you're going out of the village on the right hand side. The 6 or so?
Near the painted
road.
Roundel.
Near the painted roundel. So that's what they're going to put in there. They're not, of course, what was on there originally. Originally, it was a illuminated bollard. but I believe they were hit quite early into the time that the bollards were put up. And so they've been hit a few times, and of course, again, like many things that come up, there are people that like them, and there are people that don't like them. The chicane was put there at the time of the speed reduction measures down Gravy Way. So then you have the speed cushions, the little lumps, and then the chicane. Decide upon the actions. Please discuss. Any thoughts?
Well, the bollards, I mean, they've been damaged so many times. Personally, I don't think the bollards, they're more of a hazard than they are of anything else, aren't they, along there? I'm not sure they're the best version of what to do, are they?
But you say there's a decision being made by the council to replace them with something that is better and brighter.
There's a picture in some of the documents of what they're going to replace it with.
Yeah.
Which does look better and brighter.
Yeah, yeah. So there'll be a bigger reflective strip, and I mean there is signage, there is street lighting. The road markings are faded, but they are there.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think road markings, it's a shame they didn't do along there when they did. The rest of the road.
They did
Because
Gravy Way a
is
couple of
what-
years ago. So
Yeah.
That does make it a lot more visible if it were.
But as we heard Doug say, if we write to Doug, he will take that and ask CCC to come and repaint the signs down Gravely Way, road signs.
There is also a system whereby you can report things online and get them repainted. So I did that at the end of Scots Crescent, where the give way sign is. And it takes a while, but they did eventually come out and replace it. So it doesn't involve the parish council, the individual parishioners.
Individuals can report everything, Heather.
To the county council.
But they do tend to come to the parish council. to
Yes,
report.
it is the county council's responsibility, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Again, it's outside the remit of the parish council. Are you happy that CCC replaced them with these bollards?
I think are these sort of safer ones as well, because they're not metal. Is the idea that these just knock out of the way if someone hits them and stick them back on?
you've got
They don't spike cars.
the words of the officer in the fact that they're going to use these bollards because they are a bit more visible and easier to maintain.
They're probably cheaper.
Yeah, I
Being
think they're those
cynical
plastic
here,
ones that just-
actually.
Yeah, once they're gone, they can be easily replaced.
The ones that are there at the moment are of metal, and if they land on your foot, they're really hurt, can I say from experience?
But they also damage things, don't they, if you do hit them, because you can't see them. So I think the repainting is definitely something that needs to be done. And if they're ones that are easy to replace or whatever, and are not going to damage vehicles when they hit them, then that's probably a good thing.
Are we recording the number of accidents we've had? Do we know how many people have come to grief?
I don't hold any accident records. No, the county holds accident records, but they only record critical and serious.
So, first of all, it's whether you would like to see them replaced with these.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, the proposal is
There's
that
another option.
we support the replacement of the bollards with these new type of bollards. All those in favour? In regards to the question about 20 miles an hour down Gravely Way, that is part of this bit that Doug's going to be talking with his traffic group tomorrow, and then will provide us with information. And we said at the last meeting the 20 mile an hour bid is something that we would support. We tried to promote 20 miles an hour through the village by getting things to go on people's bins, and we will continue that. And we will also, and the other proposal is that we ask Nicola to contact Doug, as suggested earlier on, to repaint the lines down Gravely Way. I propose that. Seconded, all in favour? Thank you very much. Right. Next item, review the financial reports. That's a different, that's the next one on the agenda. So we've had the financial reports. Have you all managed to have a little look and be happy? Yeah? Good. In that case, I've resolved that we accept the financial reports for this month. Seconded. And all those in favour? Thank you. Right, no payments received, so bond partaking was lower. Two amounts. £2,241.60 cash and £391 in card. Fantastic result. Thank you very much to the Bonfire Working Group for getting us all in place, and that, and to everybody who helped on the evening, and to Feast Week for refreshing the parishioners. Would be what I'm saying. And somewhere I did see something. Oh, there, that page there. As we know, the firework money is sort of ring-fenced, if you like, so that it can support in the years that it might not be so profitable, as has been in the past. And at the minute, it's good. We spend 1482. Is that after VAT or before VAT?
That's net of VAT. That's the cost to the council.
Cost to the council, £1,482.67, and that seems to be working with the amount of fireworks we have.
Yeah,
Great turnout. Obviously, there was a little bit of concern because it was forecast to be a pretty poxy evening, but it turned out to be nice, didn't it? Just about most of the time. So, again, thank you everybody. To approve the payment schedule detailed below is the next item of the agenda. Right, here we go. JSE Services, £525, TP Garden Service, £208.34, Ecotricity, £46.86, Payroll, £1,022.05, Opus, £160.66 is for street lighting energy, Microsoft for the office package, £11.28, GT Bulb Company, for the daffodil bulbs, £27.60, Amazon for the Christmas lights, what we talked about earlier, £27.99, sum up for charges, so that's for the using the card for card receipts, £6.60 against £399 taking, that seems fair. Cambridge Tree Limited, £750, this was the urgent tree work on the Wilderness Oaks, and the health project questionnaire was £220, 80 pence. We resolved on that last month to be paid, but it does come out of the grant monies that have been received, but we obviously has to go through the parish council book, so it's not that the parish council is going to pay it, that is that it's going to come out of there. So those, would you like us to resolve on those first of all?
Yeah.
So I would propose that those payments are made. Seconded, and all good. Then there are some other payments. These are payments that will be made. £37,800 for the dredging, which will be met by the grant that is coming in from Cambridge County Council. £1,149 for table tennis table, £99 for table tennis table assembly, £45 for table tennis table cover, £66 for table tennis bats, and £8 for table tennis balls. And those that we've discussed and authorised that they be paid, and we just want to pre-authorise those because they're likely, there is not a parish council meeting in January. The next parish council meeting will be the first Monday in February. So it's to make sure that we can pay those items should they be, as they will come up in the break. Heather's seconded my proposal. All in favour? Thank you. Good. Right, item 206. Councillors' items. Information only, no discussion, no decisions to be made locally. Yeah, okay. Right, let's start with Claire. Anyone?
Any information? Yes, litter. I've had various parishioners tell me that they're interested in joining such a litter-picking party, and in discussion with Nicola, we're going to launch it in spring to go with a Keep Britain Tidy, whatever the wording is, and thereafter at regular intervals. Thank you.
Heather? Rob?
No.
Sarah? Nina? Kieran? John? No? And I haven't got anything either, isn't it? No, there's that to report on the unfortunate, isn't it? Thank you. So at this point in time, the parish council meeting closes to members of the public.
If it resolves to do so.
If you resolve to do so, sorry. There are 4 items that to be discussed, which we have done in the closed session. and we would propose it. I would propose that we do that again this time. Seconded, all those in favour? Thank you. So, members of the public, thank you very much for attending.